Yes, hello, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Bar and Beverage Management. This is week 8. Okay, so our topic is about the types of mixing procedures. Okay, ano bang minimix natin? Cocktails, mocktails. Okay, so one is shaking. The cocktail is mixed by hand in a cocktail shaker. The shaker is first filled with 3/4 with ice, preferably cubes, as crushed ice will tend to melt and dilute the cocktail. The ingredients are then poured on top of the ice in order of alcohol content, highest first. When shaking a cocktail, hold the shaker in both hands and on hand on top of the other supporting the base of the shaker. And shake vigorously. When water has begun condensing on the outside of the shaker, the cocktail is sufficient chilled, and the cocktail should immediately be strained into the glass. In general, shaking creates a colder cocktail than stirring does, but also a cloudier one. Okay, so here we have a video no kung paano ba pina-perform yung sorry, yung shaking ng cocktail. Okay, so let's watch this video.
We've talked a lot about shaking and stirring. When do we shake a drink? How do you know when to do that? Well, the simple rule of thumb is if you've got juice, if you've got fruit, if you've got cream, anything that's heavy and needs to be bonded to the spirit, that's going to need some agitation to do so, that's when you shake. So in this case, let's just make a simple sour style cocktail. I'll put a little bit of simple syrup in here. Take a nice fresh lime and add some lime juice to this. So I create my sour base of sweet plus sour. Now there's the juice component that I need. So now I know I need to shake. I'll add a little bit of spirit, maybe my 2-1-1 formula of creating a sour. That drink's done except for now it needs a good shake. So get my ice into the mixing glass, and here's what you need to do. Create that seal. So I build in the glass, I add my ice, I take my metal tin, and I create that seal with my Boston shaker so that this is ready to do some good shaking. Now, I always turn it over because I want to make sure that the mixing tin is pointing towards our guests. In case this seal breaks while I'm shaking, I want the mistake to go all over me as opposed to my guests, and then I have to explain to them how I'm paying for their dry cleaning. So, I've created a nice seal. Now, when I actually do the shaking, the key is back and forth. You want to allow the agitation. That back and forth piston motion will allow the drink to get cold, to agitate, to really wake it up. Just like so. It doesn't have to be fancy. You don't have to go up over your head. You don't have to do anything crazy. You just have to create that nice, heavy-duty back and forth shaking motion. Now what you can see is, as I did that, I created a seal. The cold air within this creates a vacuum that wants to keep the glass and the tin together. So what you can see was as I went to break that, I gave it just a nice gentle hit on the side. Do that a couple times, and what you're doing is you allow for a little bit of break in that seal. That gets your cocktail shaker split apart. Then if I'm going to pour it out of my tin, I'll grab my Hawthorne strainer and strain right into my pre-chilled cocktail glass. So if you're going to shake, practice that a few times. Get it down to the point where you look good doing it. Maybe you get fancy if you're feeling it, but the key is give it a hearty shake, bond those ingredients together, wake up the flavors, make great cocktails.
Okay, so yun yung process of shaking method. Okay, proceed. Next is we have your stirring. The cocktail is stirred with a glass or metal rod in a mixing glass before the cocktail is strained into a glass. As with shaking, crushed ice should not be used, and water condensing on the outside shows that the cocktail is finished. Okay? Sa mga methods na to later on, sa mga susunod na topics natin, makikita nyo yung different cocktails and mocktails na gumagamit ng different mixing procedures. Okay? Para mas maintindihan nyo later on. Okay, so here we had an example of a video kung paano pina-perform ang stirring method. Okay, so please watch this.
You've heard us talk about the difference between shaking and stirring. Let's go over the technique of how to stir. It's actually one of the more difficult things, and you'll notice that a lot of bartenders aren't necessarily confident. Mostly it's because they don't do it enough. And if you spend a few minutes working on this technique, you will stir like a pro, maybe even better than your local pro. So here's what we're doing. Again, just remembering why we stir a drink. It's anytime we have just spirit, just looking to chill it down, to grab dilution. Simple process goes like this. I take a nice spoon, and really any spoon, any long bar spoon that you're comfortable with, that's the one you should use. So I take my spoon, find a balance point, usually somewhere about 2/3 of the way up the spoon, slide it down into my mixing glass, and it's a simple process of pulling it towards me and pushing it away. Simply taking my top fingers and pulling in, and my bottom fingers and pushing it away. And it creates this process of really just following the outside of the glass and going around and around. And what I like to tell people is, as you're learning how to do this, do it just this slow and practice pushing and pulling and pushing and pulling until you get to the point where you can kind of speed that process up a little bit and you've got the pulling and pushing going in a much smoother fashion. And really what it ends up being is that push and pull and just a gentle turn of the wrist gives you this nice, I mean, it looks like I know what I'm doing. Now, whether I do or I don't still remains to be seen. But that said, if you see a bartender who's stirring properly, you know that that's someone you can get a good cocktail from. It's one of those techniques that really should be practiced and can be mastered really within a couple of hours. Just grab a glass and a spoon and do this, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Simple as that. Once you've mastered it, you can make delicious round cocktails. Your martinis and Manhattans will be just like the pros, maybe even better. But you want no agitation. You want just that simple process of cooling the drink down, making it taste good, and at the same time, looking like you know what you're doing, which is half the fun. So grab a glass, grab a spoon, practice stirring. Soon you'll be better than me.
Okay. So, napakasimple lang, di ba? Okay, next is the third one is we have your blending. An electric blender is used to mix fruit juices, alcohol, fruit. Blending is an excellent way of mixing ingredients which do not blend easily in any other way. Blend the cocktail till it has reached smooth consistency. If the recipe requires ice, add crushed ice last, but be careful not to add too much as the cocktail may be watered down. Blending is a much disputed method of mixing a cocktail, and in general, blending should be avoided unless the recipe demands it. Okay, so here we have another video. Okay, how do they perform blending? So please watch this video.
This is how you blend a cocktail. So with this technique, it's all about texture. You want to create a consistency which is smooth, like a smoothie type drink. So we're gonna make a pina colada to practice this. I'm gonna serve it in a hurricane glass like that. I'm gonna add my ingredients to the blender here. So rum and coconut liqueur. I'm gonna add some coconut puree and also some pineapple juice. And because this is a blended cocktail, there's a lot of ice left in the drink. So you want to add a little extra sugar as well for texture. So about 1/2 ounce. There we go. And then we're gonna add the crushed ice. Now you don't want to add too much crushed ice to get the right consistency. So I'll show you how much ice to use. I'm gonna create a white line on top of your liquids. Like that, a little bit more, and then you're ready to blend. So close the lid, and I'm gonna blend. There you go. We have the right consistency here. I'll pour that into our glass. That's it. And then we're gonna garnish it with a pineapple wedge, some pineapple leaves, and of course a straw. And that is how you blend a cocktail.
Okay. fourth one is building. Okay, when building a cocktail, the ingredients are poured into the glass in which the cocktail will be served. Usually, the ingredients are floated on top of each other, but occasionally a swizzle stick is put in the glass, allowing the ingredients to be mixed. Okay, so yan, makikita nyo din later on yung mga shooters natin saan nagbi-build tayo, yung tinatawag ng layered drinks. Okay, so meron tayong video on how do they layer drinks. Okay, ito mukhang mahirap pero actually madali lang to pag na-try mo. Okay, so please watch this video.
This is how you layer a cocktail. This technique you can use for layering different liquids on top of each other with different densities. So what you have to look out for is the amount of sugar and the amount of alcohol. So what I'm going to start off with this shot is 3 liquids. And I'm always going to start with the liquid with the most amount of sugar. In this case, the Bols Blue. So pour that in first. So for the next layer, I like to use a bar spoon with a flat end, so I can rest that on the previous layer. I'm getting my triple sec into the spoon and really slowly pour the liquid down the stem of the spoon. And it creates a really nice layer. The slower you do this, the nicer your layer will turn out. So you want to try to end up with equal parts. And the last one is the one with the most alcohol and no sugar. In this case, barrel-aged Geneva. And pour that slowly down the stem of your spoon. And that ends up to be your last layer. And that is how you layer a cocktail.
Okay, so ganun lang kasimple. Ang pagbibuild, pag-shake, pag-stir, pag-blend. Okay? So next is we have your cocktail garnishes. Garnishes are very important for mixed drinks. They make your drink look more presentable and they also add more flavor. Okay? Make sure you wash your fruits and vegetables thoroughly with water only. Okay? So ito yung mga example natin. Cocktail cherry drop, olives, no? Lime wedge, we have lime wheels. Okay? So sa lime pa lang, pwede ka na gumawa ng dalawang klase, okay? Actually, pwede 3. Lime wedge, lime wheel, lime twist. Okay? Lemon wedge, lemon twist, orange wedge, orange slices. Yan yung mga example natin. Orange spiral. Okay? Apple slices, banana slices, whipped cream. Okay? Alam niyo sa paggamit ng mga garnishes, syempre, kailangan ibabagay nyo doon sa cocktail. Alam nga naman, yung drink mo blended raspberry pero ang gagamitin mo orange o kaya banana. Tingnan nyo, ano, make sure na complement yung garnish nyo, yung lasa ng garnish doon sa mismong cocktail or mocktail na nilalagyan nyo. Okay? You have your berries, chocolate. You have also candy, celery. Marami. Pineapple wedge, mint leaves, coffee bean, strawberries, cocktail onion. Yung cocktail onion nabibili yan, no? Kagaya ng olives. Hindi yan yung mga onion na nag-slice ka lang, no? Hindi ganon. Iba yan. Iba yung cocktail onions. Salt, kosher salt. Okay, so yun yung mga iba't ibang garnishes na ginagamit natin. Okay? So handouts nyo, aralin nyo, basahin nyo yung mga description kung saan sila ginagamit. Okay, for your activity, give at least 10 new garnishes not included in the example. Give it given in the module that you can use on a cocktail drink. Napakadami. Okay? Napakadami dyan. Make sure na yung gagawin yung ibibigay yung example ay yung talagang pwede nyong gamitin. Okay? Activity 2, make a research on different cocktails. Give 2 examples of each cocktail done using this kind of mixing procedures. We have shaking, stirring, building, and blending. Okay? So write it in the yellow paper, write your name, the week, the date kung kailan sasubmit. Okay? So if you have questions, message nyo ako sa group chat. Thank you for watching and God bless.